I would simply just like a yes or no when I ask you if this player is generational or not, or a generational talent or not. Let's start with Jalen Ramsey.
Yes.
You would say that you would say that Jalen Ramsey is a generational talent. Chat box, would y'all say that Jalen Ramsey is a generational talent? Would you say? Okay, this is interesting. We're gonna come back to Jalen Ramsey after I give my definition. Would you guys say that? And we're revisiting all this after I make my case. Would you guys say that Saquon Barkley is a generational talent? Take away the idea that he plays for the Giants and shit looking kind of rough over there. But think about Penn State Saquon Barkley. Is he a generational talent?
Go no.
Okay. Go no for Saquon Barkley. What about Aaron Donald? Is he a generational talent?
Now, see, you said take away what he's done in the NFL and just use college.
I think for Aaron Donald, we can talk about.
We got to talk about NFL with Aaron Donald. He's been generational, so absolutely yes.
Aaron Donald's generation. Somebody in the chat box say no. Okay. Josh Allen, is he generational?
Come on, dog.
Shut up. I just asked you a question. Is Josh Allen a generational talent?
No.
He's not a generational. Okay, not a generational talent. Okay. Chat box, is Josh Allen? Okay. We got a bunch of no's in there. Perfect. Perfecto. This is where it gets really funny. I'm about to start stabbing people in the ribs on this.
Know where you going?
What about Chase Young? Is he a generational talent? Was he a generational talent coming out? Chase Young?
See, I wasn't a big. I like Chase, but I didn't really look at him as generational. I just thought he was the best pass rusher in that draft.
It's interesting. It's interesting. It's very interesting when we're going through draft process, right? We get a lot of this though. We get a lot. Oh, he's a generational. It was a lot of people calling. What's his face? Saquon Barkley, Chase Young. We were calling all these guys generational talents when they were coming back, when they were coming out, which is interesting. This should be an easy one. Chat, is Micah Parsons a generational talent?
Yes.
Is Micah Parsons a generational talent, chat?
I better stop playing with me.
Let me give y'all my reasoning, right? Let me just talk to y'all for a bit. This is my idea of generational talent. And I swear it's easier, than it sounds, right? I'm not about to give y'all this big, complex definition of it, right? In order to be a generational talent, you got to be a generation removed from a player just like you.
Ooh, I love that.
Very simple. You have to be a generation removed from a player just like you. So I will say, I think the chat was speaking with a little bit of hindsight, right? I think that's fair, but that's cool. When Chase Young was coming out, they were calling him a generational talent.
How?
Voch couldn't call him a generational talent because we get edge guys like him every other year. So he's not a generational talent. He's probably the best edge player in that class. He's probably a fantastic athlete for 6'5", 6'6", 270 some odd pounds. But Myles Garrett wasn't that long before him, We always get a new athletic guy. Like we get these Brian Burns types that come out and they're the type of athlete that a Chase Young is for that size and that movement. That, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I look at a guy like Saquon Barkley, in which they were calling him generational talent. And I'm like, hey, man, that's cool. I understand that you feel this way about him, but you know what I mean? Like, Christian McCaffrey kind of exists. And he was a guy that's doing similar things to Saquon Barkley. We get these Zekes, we get these, these guys that come out every handful, and we have to ask ourselves, right? We have to decide, is this running back worth that top pick? And we hate it. Now, me being a Cowboy fan looking back at it, I hate the idea that we even discussing Ezekiel Elliott as one of those guys, but we go, we get an elite running back prospect every now and then. I think it's interesting when we think about these ever so often guys. So I look at a guy like Aaron Donald. When was the last 3-tech we've seen like Aaron Donald?
Maybe John Randall.
Man.
And that's generations. You know what I mean? That's you said 10 years? Or one generation. You said one generation.
And to be fair, I would say a football generation is like 5. I think that's fair. Of like a football generation is 5 to 6
Shoot, you
years.
being nice. I would go further.
I think that's fair too.
Yeah.
That's fair too. I don't hate that. But just in terms of if you look at how fast football moves, like the standing, like as soon as Lawrence Taylor existed, everybody wanted to stand up outside linebacker guys to be, to be that dude.
He changed the game.
He changed the game. That's a generational talent.
Yeah.
You can't ask me, Voch, who's this year's Micah Parsons. You would have to find me a 6'5". Give me the measurables. Will still 6'5", 250.
6'3", 246, but you can round that thing up when you put on that peanut butter weight, 250.
Sure. That runs like that.
There ain't one.
And then even if you find, because there's still guys like
Sam,
what's my man? That came out of plays with the Bills. Edmonds. Terrell Edmonds is a guy like that, right? Just a fast big guy. Van Der Esch is a fast big guy. But we don't look at those dudes as like coverage dudes. We don't look at those dudes as like pass rush dudes.
They ain't twitchy.
They're not twitchy like that. Micah Parsons is probably the best athlete on this team. Probably. Am I lying? Relatively?
Probably. Dude, yes.
It's like him and Tony Pollard foot race will actually be close.
Yeah. You know what? Him and Tony, I'd rank it. Micah, and this is just off the top of my head. I ain't thinking too hard. Micah, TP, and Diggs as the most athletic guys.
Sure, probably right. And
CeeDee Lamb, I guess.
I'm sure Michael will smoke CeeDee Lamb.
Well, I don't mean just speed, athleticism. Yeah, the whole thing.
I think there has to be an entire generation removed from who you are, right? So let's look a generation ahead, right? Let's just jump right into this, right? Let's jump right into this. Micah Parsons versus Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau, Travon Walker, Nakobe Dean, Devin Lloyd, Jermaine Johnson. And I added Pat, and that's what makes Micah special also. You got to not only put him with linebackers, but you got to put that dude with edge rushes. He was out producing Chase Young, who was one of those guys. You know what I mean? So I don't want people to tap me on the shoulder and be like, well, Voch, who's this year's Micah Parsons? Don't get your hopes up. It ain't one of them. It's not one of them. So when you go into this draft class, I think this class is a bunch of, and I want to say this with as much respect as I possibly can, but it's a bunch of complementary players. You see what I'm saying? We got complementary guys. We got guys that can come in and maybe help the stars or help the generational guys that's on your team already. And then we can go from there. I look at Evan Neal, Ikem Ekwonu, and Charles Cross, and I wouldn't take none of them over Rashawn Slater. That's just life. That's real life. Now, as an athlete, is Ikem Ekwonu probably a better athlete than Rashawn Slater? Sure, but we putting on film now. Now we talking about film, we talking about gameplay, we talking about tape and all that. And I was just watching Rashawn Slater, bro, and I was just like, okay, tip drill video coming on. Ain't nothing like money in the Ziploc bag. Disco Inferno coming on. Shouts out to 50. Ludacris coming on. And then you got Rashawn Slater film coming. Look, when I saw Rashawn Slater putting hands on Chase Young, I was like, that's it.
You absolutely did. You said that.
That's it. You know? So I wouldn't take any of these guys over Rashawn Slater. Let me ask you this, Will, still. What about Jamar Chase versus Wilson London, William Burke Olave?
He ain't got finished. None of them. And that's not a reach just because he had 1,500 yards or whatever it was this year. Jamar Chase knew he was that dude. And he said, I don't need to play in 2021. I'm good. Or 2020. I'm good.
That's how we felt. I do have like an overall comeback point to this, so everybody stay tuned for that. Will Steele, chat box, let me ask y'all a question. Is Kyle Pitts a generational talent?
Absolutely. I mean, no matter how you feel about Kyle Pitts, there literally isn't a tight end that's come out of college since maybe Vernon Davis.
Sure.
That's that big and that fast and that good. And Davis, I think Davis lived up to it to an extent, right? He had a long career, some Pro Bowls under his belt, went to the Super Bowl. Let's see if Kyle Pitts can live up to it.
Sure, 100%. 100%. I just think this class versus last class, I just do not want y'all to get y'all hopes up. I was looking at just some of the drafting that happened. And look, bro, you like and this is another conversation when we talk about like trading or whatever, right? But the Giants really left that top 13 to go get Kadarius Toney. You know what I mean? Like they left that top. Like if you drafted in the top 13 picks, and we can have a different discussion about quarterback, right? You can think quarterback whatever you want, but Pitts, Sewell, Slater, Horn, Surtain, Parsons. I don't know if I said Slater, but if I did, I'm gonna say it twice. Jamar Chase, you weren't allowed to miss. And look, Devontae Smith is a good player too.
You say the corners.
Huh?
You did say Surtain. I'm sorry, you did say Surtain.
I actually got something special down here written for the corner. I got something special written down here that I'm gonna run past y'all in a second. But what I'm saying is that if you were in the top 13 last year, assuming you weren't drafting a quarterback, and we don't know how the quarterbacks are gonna end up being or whatever, but you couldn't miss with any of those guys last year. I think there's definitely a lot of missing that could happen at the top of this draft. There actually wasn't like a whole bunch of questions where the Cowboys are drafting. Like we're drafting at 24. And actually, I'm going to go to my Twitter and send you something on the Twitter machine. I'm going to see you work your producer magic. So I'm just going to be working on this while we just talking right now. I think all of the best players or everybody's favorite players are just players that we're going to feel like super comfortable with. I think they're all going to be around our range. But them teams that's in the top, you can't be like, oh, Aiden Hutchinson's a slam dunk this year. Kayvon Thibodeau's a slam dunk this year. We got questions. If Derek Stingley went out there and ran his 4.3, but they still got questions for Derek Stingley. Go ahead, Wilson. You were saying something?
It feels like a Ziggy Ansah type of draft. And what I mean by that is Ziggy was fast. He had the athleticism, right? He had a lot of hype coming into it. But were you really sure? You weren't. You know what I mean? He's an athlete. He has traits and things like that. But and I'm not saying every draft is going to be generational. That's just not going to happen. But it's definitely a lot. Put it this way. Most people last year had the top 10 to 15 down pat.
Sure.
You had those picks down pat. This year, the top 10 to 15 is all over the damn place.